that there was a story published before Dynamite this week by a reporter named Ben Becker with the CBS affiliate in Jacksonville. It's actually completely embarrassing that this even got published in the first place. About AEW requesting seat fillers for their shows at Daly's Place. They ran Daly's Place on Wednesday and again last night. We know that AEW has had trouble filling up arenas for their television shows. Okay, we know this. And even Dynamite this week at Daly's Place was far from a sold-out show. But seat fillers are actually very common. WWE uses them all the time. They used them for both nights of WrestleMania this year. They even had people dressing up in Philadelphia Eagles gear. No one bats an eyelash because it's not a big deal. They do this for award shows all the time. They want to make sure those main camera angles, the hard cam shots, they look full. You know, and it's not always an attendance issue. It could be that if somebody gets up to go use the bathroom or grab food, they have somebody occupy that seat because it's visible on camera. That way it doesn't look empty. This is not a process that is unique to AEW, but because of their attendance struggles recently, it makes them a very easy target. This is what this guy wrote. All Elite Wrestling, once the darling of the internet wrestling community, has received heavy scrutiny in recent months for its creative direction and now appears to need help in filling the stands in its hometown. Action News Jax has... That's what they call themselves. Action News Jacksonville has obtained an internal City of Jacksonville email from the Military Affairs and Veterans Department, which says they are, quote, looking for 50 people per night to attend as fillers. The Jacksonville-based promotion, which is owned by the Jaguars owners, Shad Khan, and operated by his son, Tony Khan, is holding 2 shows this week at Daly's Place, Dynamite on Wednesday and Rampage Collision on Saturday. Daly's Place has a listed capacity of 5,500, but according to WrestleTix, it is only set up for 2,400 on Wednesday and still has over 300 available tickets. Several AEW shows have recently been half empty with an average of 2,000 to 3,500 people in attendance. Tony Khan has taken criticism from online wrestling media for a number of booking decisions in recent months, including the airing of the infamous backstage fight last September between CM Punk and Jack Perry. It resulted in Punk being fired and eventually landing with AEW's biggest competitor, WWE. Punk has also publicly thrown shots at Khan's leadership, was set to be one of the headliners of WrestleMania 40 before suffering a triceps injury at the Royal Rumble. Critics point to the departure of former AEW star and executive vice president Cody Rhodes, who helped the promotion get off the ground in 2019 but left in 2022 under mysterious circumstances as a turning point. He subsequently joined WWE and embarked on one of the top storylines in recent memory, which culminated in Rhodes being crowned WWE World Champion at WrestleMania 40. WWE, which historically has struggled with its creative direction, is thriving inside and outside the ring by pulling in record revenue under the leadership of Paul Triple H Levesque as the Chief Content Officer. This is an actual news story that was published. This guy sounds like he's trying out new material for his wrestling podcast. I mean, look at this fucking guy. He tweets on night 2 of WrestleMania from undesirable in AEW, which of course is not what the undesirable part actually refers to, but okay. From undesirable in AEW to undeniable in the #1 wrestling promotion on the planet, the analytics department let its quarterback win the Super Bowl on another team. This tells me everything I need to know about this guy. You know, he mentions the email that went out to the city's veterans department, but he fails to mention that those 50 or so seats were made available only to active or former military veterans. I mean, I know that some people just have a hate boner for anything that Tony Khan does. You know, it's one thing to critique him when it's justified. I mean, God knows I do it myself. I'm doing it here. I'm doing it on this podcast. But this kind of stuff only validates Tony's argument about AEW constantly being under attack. You can't use that as an excuse to deflect from valid criticism, but when I see shit like this passed off as actual news and some kind of gotcha story, you know what? The man has a point. And then there's this. I thought that story would be the dumbest thing I read all week. It was one of them. But then I saw this tweet from Jim Valley, who works for the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 website. He wrote this out And he had the chance to keep this in his drafts, but he actually chose to publish this. He said, WWE is the wrestling leader, no question. Because of that, Mariah May should not wear pink. It makes her look too much like Tiffany Stratton. Mariah May is her own person and extremely talented. You don't want people thinking that you are not your own character. Hashtag AEW Dynamite. Now, I thought it was a joke at first, but then I saw him double down in his replies when people called him out for this terrible take. So he's serious about this. Either that or it's just engagement bait, but I think he honestly believes that. Now, he reasons that WWE has the bigger platform, which they do, and more people see Tiffany on a weekly basis than they do Mariah, which is also true. But because of this, Mariah May should not wear the color pink. Because I guess his rationale is that people will look at her as a Tiffany Stratton clone, and therefore it'll be harmful to her career. Has this man watched SmackDown recently? Pink is far from the only color that Tiffany Stratton is worn on TV. In fact, I just saw her on SmackDown Friday night wearing a totally different color. So should Mariah not wear yellow? I mean, I've seen Tiffany wear red. I guess that's out too. Are we going to go through every color in the crayon box? Would he prefer she wear nothing? Maybe he would. Truly one of the dumbest things that I read all week. Your winner for sad tweet. Here's your trophy. I got you a blue one. Since all the major sports leagues, they have the market cornered on gold and silver. I wouldn't want yours to be seen as copying anyone.